Hi, in this video, I will review this book, Writing Without Bullshit. Boost Your Career by Saying What You Mean by Josh Bernoff. The main principle of this book is treat the reader's time as more valuable than your own. If you are the writer, then you need to treat the reader's time as more valuable than your own. This is the iron imperative. This is the iron principle, meaning this is the core principle around this entire book. So basically, if you can share a message in 30 words, don't use 100 words for it. Business writing is done in order to get things done. So remember this principle: when you write at your workplace, you write with this core intention. You're trying to get things done. A lot of writing outside of work could be to entertain, could be to show off, maybe when you are writing in your own blog or something. But when you write in a business setting, in an email, in a report, then it is to get things done. So understand that you're writing to get things done. And this would require you to become bold in your writing. You have to be direct. You have to overcome this fear of saying what you mean. So do not hedge, be bold, be very direct. And the intention for you is to get things done. Announce and then justify. So front load your writing. A lot of times when we read big emails or reports, the crux or the essence of the report or the email is buried deep into the email. The big tip here is to start and front load your writing with the core essence at the very top, and then justify what you're trying to announce. If you don't even get the reader's attention because you did not get them to read the essence, then they'll not even read the whole email. So the first line, the title of your email or of your report, should be very catchy. It should have the sense of what you're trying to write. And you should also use the first line in the email to have a full summary. So front load your writing, announce what you're trying to get the essence out, and then justify. Because only when you have earned the reader's interest in the first few lines that they will read the rest of the email. So I'm going to use email in all of these slides in this video, but this refers to any writing. So use active voice. So instead of saying I want to recommend X, so say I want to recommend X, so there's an actor here. Instead of saying, hey, the team wants to do X or the team recommends X, right? There's no one taking responsibility. So in business writing, you want to take responsibility and you want to have specific accountability in terms of who needs to do what. So using active voice is very important. Replace jargon. When we are working in this industry, we know a lot of technical terms, and so we assume that all of our readers would know it. But a lot of people in your team may be new. A lot of people who are receiving your email might not even have the context of what you're writing. So jargons that you use inside your team and inside your own understanding may not be relevant to the reader. So they will not understand it. So now you're wasting their time. So replacing jargons with common simple words is really important. Example, we provide state-of-the-art CRM and ATS. Like for a CRM company, it's very easy what CRM is. And ATS is also pretty simple but it could mean various different things, so based on the context. So you would want to say, hey, we provide customer invoice management flows, application management flows, or whatever the specific thing that you're trying to say in simple words, instead of using internal jargons. There may be place for internal jargons for efficient communication, but that's not the rule of the thumb. You would want to do this by default and use only specific jargons when you know there's a very, very small close knit of people who know what you're talking about. Avoid using whistle words, things and qualifiers like greatly, it would be awesome, it would have a significant impact. Like that just is qualifies, means nothing. So example, engagement is dropping significantly. It doesn't add a lot of value, but if you say, hey, job views in US dropped by 20% in the last 7 days, which is 50% more compared to the same time a year ago. Now you've used numbers with base rates, you've used numbers with facts, and you are not using qualifiers, which means nothing. So use numbers instead of whistle words, use numbers wisely, give some sort of a comparison so that the numbers have some sort of a comparable way to gauge the size or the impact. Give rates, not just the percentage, but also the absolutes, so that you can have the mental model for the other reader to read and understand. So no whistle words, no jargons. When you write, you would want to first visualize your audience and write directly to them. Instead of saying some example like this, someone needs to look into this issue, there is no accountability. You don't even know who that someone is. Instead, you want to do your research, understand the specific person in a specific team, and say something like this. I recommend Raj from data science team to look into this drop in page views. So now you have a specific issue instead of saying an issue, instead of saying someone, instead of having no clarity as to who your audience is. You want to write directly to the audience and first identify that audience. Reveal structures. Any writing that has greater than 300 words, or something that's more than one screen of your mobile phone screen scroll, requires structure. Think about this. Most of your readers will read your content if it's on email, or even some of the reports that are attached to the emails in their mobile phone. So unless you can convey things in the first screen with a good structure, with an executive summary, then you would not expect them to fully read your email. So have structure in your writing. An effective structure could look like you start with an executive summary, a great title that actually gets them to open your message, email, or a report. And then you say, what is the specific opportunity? What is the problem that you're trying to fix? And then what is the recommendation? So opportunity, problem, recommendation, and the timeline. So share this specific structure, like what is the opportunity? What is the problem that you are wanting to fix? And what is the recommendation? And specific action and timeline. So if you have this kind of a structure, then it makes it very easy for your readers to scan through your content. Start early in your writing. This is probably the most important tip. A lot of times, what I have seen before I read this book, I used to procrastinate a lot when I had to write, and I used to write at the very last moment. That is deadly. We procrastinate, and then we pray that everything works out well. But that's like the worst thing when it comes to writing, because writing really, if you don't want to waste the reader's time, you want to start early. So here's what you can do. To start your writing, you'd want to do something like a ROAM analysis and a target sentence. So ROAM analysis, ROAIM, ROAM analysis, is where you find out, like, R for reader, who's your audience, and O is for objective. What will you change in the reader? This is the change in the person. And the action is, what do you want the reader to do? So you want to change them by educating them, by explaining to them certain concept, but the action is what they do once they understand that objective. And the impression, what will the reader think of you? So you would want to start with this kind of a clear analysis as to who's your reader, what's the objective that you have for the reader to change, what action do you want them to take, and what is the final impression that you want them to take out of you, of your writing, when they read it. So, and then you write a target sentence. After reading this piece, the readers will realize this objective so that they will take this desired action and think of me or us or my team as helpful, or what is the impression that you want to leave on them. So if you start early, you can do this analysis. You can write your ROAM analysis and then target sentence, and it'll give you a clear purpose of what your first draft is going to be. And then you really need to plan your writing. As I said, you need a great title so that they actually open your email. You want to do a lot of research. If you don't want to use whistle words and jargons, you really want to do a lot of research that backs up your writing. Then you want to interview a bunch of people who will proofread, who will make sure that your writing is accurate, give you input and suggestions. Then you want to review it several times so that you are not wasting the reader's time. And then you want to send it in the right format to the right audience in the right channels. So all of this takes time. So have a plan as to what you're going to do when, especially if that writing is important. And if it's not important, you shouldn't be writing it. So add creativity to your writing. People remember stories. So unless there is some sort of a setup or a complication and a resolution, then it's just boring. So adding creativity in terms of stories, pictures, graphics, or anything that keeps the user engaged is greatly important for that user to actually read the entire content. And you'd want to write when you get into your flow. So experiment, like what is it that enables you to write well, what environment, what kind of a preparation or a routine that you'd want to do, and how your nutrition and your brain works in the best way in what time. So experiment with this, get into your flow, and then write. And collaborate. When you do that interviews, you'd want to have various people for collaboration. Certain readers who would take a proofread for your writing, some researchers who would track down facts, contributors who would support specific content or specific sections, an expert who advises you that this is perfect because they are an expert in that area, a gatekeeper who's a decision maker. Also, you'd want to give them an early read, an early heads up, and a fact checker before it goes out, and a copy and a grammar, so that you have the correct grammar use and a proper flow. So you'll get a lot of criticism, you'll get a lot of input. Take criticism just with the attitude of what can I learn from this. Feel free to totally accept, reject, or learn from everything. Remember, at the end of it, it's your writing. So whenever you collaborate, you make the final calls. So that's your writing. And this is a pretty good 10 tips you can Google from this author, Bernoff.com, from this website. And this summarizes everything that we've shared in this video so far. I highly, highly recommend this book. Every professional should read this. I think before graduation, this should be mandatory. It will greatly help you to boost your career by saying what you mean. And to quickly summarize, write short, rewrite passive voice to active voice, eliminate whistle words, no jargons, cite and use numbers effectively, be active in your communication, and use examples to back up and add the links at the very bottom. So highly, highly recommend getting this book, reading it, and using the principles from it. Thanks.